This is going to be a more serious one. So trigger warning about mass pew-pewings, okay? Especially with what's been going on in the news. But I think that this is really important and we need to discuss this because I haven't been seeing a lot of people talking about this side of it. So watch this video and then I'm going to pull up some other things as we talk.
The father of the school shooter at Apalachee High School, he's been arrested. You want to know why he's been arrested? Because he gave the gun that the child used to shoot his classmates. Don't worry, it gets more fucked up than that, because last year, the FBI investigated Colt. He was then 13 years old. They said, hey, we got reports. They're talking about like shooting up a school. Is this true? And he said, no, couldn't be me. Right? So then they asked his dad, Colin. They said, hey, does he have access to guns here? And he said, no. And the FBI said, but you have guns, right? Yes, we do. But he doesn't have access to them. No, of course not. So the dad knows this is about his son, that he's being investigated for talking about shooting up a school. So what does the dad do? He buys his son a gift, an AR-15 rifle that then Colt used to kill his classmates. And everyone's so crying, this is mental health, it's because of bullying, right? Let me pause for a second. I'm a teacher and I'm a therapist, all right? I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this. Yeah, we are lacking mental health resources in the United States badly, and we need more of it. Here's the thing, so are other countries, so are other developed countries, and guess what? They still don't have this goddamn issue. Or you guys say, okay, then it was bullying. It was Colt's first day of school. He was a brand new student. He didn't even make it half day before he did this. Yep, bullying absolutely has to end. Mental health resources we absolutely need. We also need gun reform. That does not mean we get rid of the Second Amendment. It means that we have responsible and sensible gun laws. And don't tell me it doesn't work, because it works for other fucking countries.
So for those of you who do not know, what's behind me is an article from USA Today that came out as I was closing my eyes yesterday to go to bed. I'm going to be diving a little bit more into this because it brings up some very interesting info, because the video that I just posted was posted a few days prior to me recording this. This came out yesterday from the day that I'm recording this, right? So the guy was arrested by the time that the previous creator made that video. He has now been charged with murder and child cruelty. So technically, 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of second-degree murder. We need to talk about the parents. Because yes, there's clearly something wrong with the amount of violence that kids are perpetuating against their teachers and their classmates. Like these violent children need so much help. I don't know if they can be reformed. I really don't. But there are parents that have been watching this, that have been either watching and, like in the case of this guy, been not so subtly encouraging a level of violence in their children, but also there's a lot of parents that don't pay attention. That just straight up don't pay attention. They might think that they are, but they're not. And this happens. Now, let's dive into this. Let's dive into this article. We are skipping ahead a lot in this because, as I said, I really want us to talk about, as somebody who is so joyfully child-free, because I know that while I enjoy children and I love them from a healthy distance, the amount of care, attention, responsibility, activeness that it takes to raise a productive member of society, especially in today's environment, I don't want to participate in that. Full disclosure, I just don't want to. But if you're going to have kids, let me just read this. Nick Suplina, Senior Vice President for Law and Policy at Everytown for Gun Safety, told USA Today that actions taken by the Grays tore apart the Apalachee high school community, and that the case involving the Crumbleys shows that the parents can and should be held responsible when they disregard public safety. The fact that Mr. Gray bought his son a weapon of war as a present months after being investigated for making threats to shoot up a school is complete and utter derelict of responsibility, both as a gun as a gun owner and a community member, said Suplina, adding that the verdict against the Crumbleys should have sent a clear message to people like Mr. Gray. It continues on. Other attempts to hold parents and guardians responsible for violent actions of children in their care include a man charged with killing 7 people at a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, Illinois in 2022. His father pled guilty to 7 misdemeanors last year. In December 2023, a mother of a 6-year-old boy in Virginia was sentenced to 2 years in prison for felony child neglect after her son shot his first-grade teacher. The school's assistant principal was also charged with 8 counts of felony child abuse and disregard of life for ignoring multiple warnings of the child's violent behavior. I think that it is absolutely time that parents of kids like this, adults that are supposed to be caring for kids like this, are also held in account. It is about time that accountability, we need to start looking at it like this. Because this kid didn't just show up and shoot up a school on his own. No, daddy got him the gun. How on earth does a 6-year-old get a gun and then is able to shoot his teacher, right? There are a lot of adults at play in this, and I want to take this one step further. In the same way that generational trauma can also show up in people's DNA. We see it within the Black community that our generations experience when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, to Jim Crow in the United States, to mass incarceration. We see how that shows up within the experience of Black people's DNA in the Americas, in the Caribbean, right? So that also, if that's showing up with us, then a version of that has to show up with the oppressor. And I'm looking at all of these little white children out here, especially little white cishet boys, shooting up schools, going after Black churches, just wanting to kill and destroy. One, I think that there needs to be a lot more research done onto how this shows up in the generations of people who were the oppressors of, when it comes to slavery, when it comes to the trying to eradicate indigenous people. How does that show up in the oppressor? Because it's showing up in the children. It's showing up in the children. And so with that, the parents of white children, AKA white parents, if you are not ready, you know what? I wrote some notes about this. Give me one sec. Right here, new handy dandy. White people, especially in the United States, your kids are the ones killing other kids, by and large. Please do not have them kids unless you are willing and able to actively try to undo. Whether you actually can or not is to be seen, but you need to try like you can. Undo 400 plus years of generational trauma. And if you have not started doing that in yourself, and listen, this isn't just for like little Black and brown kids. Your little white kids, little white boys are killing everybody. One of the teachers that he killed was a white cis. Well, I don't know if he was cis, but it was a white man teacher. If you're not able to do the kind of parenting that can create productive members of society, when there's all of this, whether it's the genetic trauma, biological, whatever it is, if you're not able to create and raise and productive members of society, then don't. Why? Because one, those kids are killing people. They're killing kids, they're killing adults, they're killing anybody that happens to be around them at the wrong time, whenever they feel like it's time to kill somebody. One. And yeah, like in this case, when it comes to the school shooting, it was a little white boy who went in, shot a bunch of people. But there are full-grown white men that never got these things handled and feel like it is their right, it is their privilege, it is their mission, it is their manifest destiny. And they were raised by people. They were raised in community. So everybody was unequipped. Everybody was unequipped, and the child had a predilection for violence. So there's that, but also I want to bring this up. This same creator made a separate video talking about how lollipops can't prevent what happened in Apalachee High School. This video was him talking about, I think it was advice that another teacher gave him just to have lollipops. And I think he's like a elementary school teacher, possibly kindergarten, pre, somewhere around there. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so another teacher told him, hey, you should always have lollipops in your classroom in case something like this happens. He goes, why? Because if you give the kids lollipops, you can't cry and make noise as you're sucking on a lollipop. So it keeps the kids just quiet enough and just having enough activity enough to possibly keep them alive. Lollipops. Yeah, that's where we're at. And then this mom had another video that was about no more light up shoes, because light up shoes can potentially draw attention if a kid is trying to hide in the bathroom from an active shooter. I lived on light up shoes. Honestly, as an adult, I want light up shoes. I'm sure that this probably also goes for Heelys. Listen, these kinds of things are quintessential for kids. And now imagine having this imagine having a trauma response whenever you see a lollipop. Imagine not being able to participate in experiences that kids should be granted, like little baby light up shoes, like being able to just enjoy candy for this because it's candy, like being able to just go to school, learn cursive, whether you'll learn it or not, you'll use it or not, algebra, making friends, just hanging out in the bathroom as like teenage girls, and which then translates to when you're older and you're like drunk in the bathroom. It's like, oh my God, girls, how's it going? Like imagine not being able to have all of these innocent experiences as children that can help to formulate your sense of personal style, your sense of security, your sense of what is real, what is standard. Imagine all of this being so heavily tainted because your parents and your teachers are just trying to keep you alive. This is the side effect. This is the outpouring, the avalanche-like side effect of one, little white boys being violent, and two, the adults that are supposed to be looking over these children, helping them to formulate into productive members of society, their neglect. And yes, those parents need to be held accountable. So if you don't think that you can do that, if you're not 100% sure, listen, I did my work. I've done my anti-racism work. I've done my anti-homophobia work. I have learned about, community care. I've read everything all about love and everything else that, oh my goodness, her name is blanking on me right now. But I've done so much work. I am as prepared as I could possibly be to not just bring forth a child, but to bring forth a child into an inherently intersectional world and for them to not invoke violence. If you can't do that, pop the birth control. Just don't. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard. And living in the United States is a specific kind of trauma on its own. It's one of the biggest reasons why I'm really trying to find home outside of the US, because if it's not the gun violence, then it's the police, then it's the healthcare system, then it's all terrifying. And I do not envy parents. This is a particularly terrifying time to be a parent of young people. Those are my thoughts on that. If you have any thoughts, please comment below. I'd love to hear them. But if you got young kids, my heart goes out to you. Truly, my heart goes out to you. Hug them extra close. Give them a little squeeze. Give them a little kiss. All that great stuff. I'll talk to you later. Bye.